Hi everyone, today we are going to be talking about context clues. And context clues refers to using information that's surrounding a word that you don't know to figure out what that word means. So we're going to look at some different sentences that have a key word in it that we're trying to figure out. Let's look at the first one. Mr. Farley will assign the class an end-of-the-year project at the end of class. So we're trying to figure out what assign means. So let's see what our choices are. The first one is to give out his work or a task, and the second one is to be in charge of, administer, or run. So one trick that's really helpful when you are trying to figure out word meaning and you have multiple choices to choose from is to take each choice and put it in place of the word you're trying to figure out and see which one makes sense. So let's try the first one. Mr. Farley will give out as work or a task an end-of-the-year project at the end of class. So that actually kind of makes sense. But let's check the second choice just to be sure. Mr. Farley will be in charge of, administer, or run the class an end-of-the-year project at the end of class. So if you choose A, you are correct, because that makes the most sense in the sentence out of the two choices. Let's look at the next one. We had a big storm the other night that the weather stations have been warning about. Their weather report was very accurate. So we're trying to figure out what accurate means. Let's look at our choices. Let's try the first one. We had a big storm the other night that the weather stations have been warning about. Their weather report was very incorrect. Well, that doesn't make sense because the storm that they had been predicting actually happened. So we know it's not A. Let's try B. We had a big storm the other night that the weather stations had been warning about. Their weather report was very selected as the aim of an attack. So that definitely doesn't make sense. Let's try C. We had a big storm the other night that the weather stations have been warning about. Their weather report was very correct or exact. So we know that our answer is C because the storm that had been predicted actually happened. So it was correct. Let's try the next one. In order to have the perfect vacation, Leslie's work schedule needed to coincide with her husband's work schedule so that they could go together. Let's look at our choices. In order to have the perfect vacation, Leslie's work schedule needed to happen at 2 different times from her husband's work schedule. We know that's not correct because they're wanting to go together. Let's try B. In order to have the perfect vacation, Leslie's work schedule needed to needed an inner feeling or voice with her husband's work schedule. That definitely doesn't make sense. Let's try C. In order to have the perfect vacation, Leslie's work schedule needed to happen at the same time as her husband's work schedule. So C is going to make the most sense because they need their work schedules and their time off to be at the same time so they can go on the vacation together. The next one says, we will hire an architect to design a new kitchen that includes more counter space and a larger pantry. So we're trying to figure out what an architect is. Let's try A. We will hire a job or profession to design a new kitchen that includes more counter space and a larger pantry. Well, this one isn't very specific. Okay, this most likely is a type of job or profession, but we're trying to figure out specifically what that is. So let's try B. We will hire a person who specializes in designing structures and spaces to design a new kitchen that includes more counter space and a larger pantry. So you can see that B makes the most sense. We'll go ahead and read C, a person who specializes in the provision of clean drinking water and adequate sewage disposal. Well, that's not what we're looking for in this context. So the answer is going to be B. A person who specializes in designing structures and spaces. All right, let's try one more. If Xavier wants to make a good grade on the upcoming science test, he needs to focus on studying over the weekend. What does focus mean? Let's look at our choices. If Xavier wants to make a good grade on the upcoming science test, he needs to become easily distracted by his surroundings while he's studying over the weekend. Well, that's not good. That's definitely not good studying. Let's try B. If Xavier wants to make a good grade on the upcoming science test, he needs to have or produce clear visual definition to see clearly on studying over the weekend. That doesn't make sense either. Let's try C. If Xavier wants to make a good grade on the upcoming science test, he needs to pay close attention and study over the weekend. So if you chose C, you chose the correct answer. All right, well, that's all I have for today. So definitely try to find some sentences that have words that you aren't familiar with and try to figure them out on your own before looking up their definition.